Well, we are live on the Dynasty Roundtable, and Aaron Stewart is here. And I was excited to see Aaron Stewart until he reminded me of a travesty of errors that was committed upon me at the last NFL draft at the draft house, where he stuffed all of his socks down the drain to clog the pipes and to cause all that poop infected water to flood the basement of the draft house. So he's here with that championship belt that he does not deserve. Anyway, Aaron, how are you doing?
Well, that's quite a way to introduce the mock draft king on his 300th day reign here as champ. But besides that, I'm doing great, my friend. Doing great. But I have been a little, starved for competition. I'm down 35 pounds. So, maybe, just maybe we'll bring this back, defend it.
That's awesome, dude. Then you lost a little weight, and we're here tonight to talk about dynasty stashes. Aaron, whenever I bring on guests, I'm thinking, okay, what's going to be a good topic for Aaron? And Aaron plays in a lot of deep dynasty leagues, and so tonight it might be, we might be zigging while everybody else is zagging. Everybody else is talking about rookies, NFL Combine. Tonight, we are zigging while everyone else is zagging. We are talking about the players that you need to go add right now that are available in your leagues right now so you can hold the championship belt next year. So hopefully we can uncover some diamonds in the rough tonight. 25 players. Yes, 25 we got on the list. I don't know if we're going to get to them all, but we're going to try. 25 stashes in Dynasty that you need to make, and that starts right now. All right, Aaron, it is we are in full dynasty off-season mode. The rookie talk is heating up, but like I said at the jump, we are here to talk about dynasty stashes, and I want this list that we have. I have it numbered and ordered, but I kind of wanted to start with your list before we get to my list, if that's all right, because I wanted to make sure that we get to your players. You're the guest, because we have a tendency on this show to just talk and ramble and then not get to what half the players that we wanted to talk about. So you on your list, you have, let's see, like 6 or 7 guys. So we'll get to those first. And the first guy on your list, you have Ronnie Rivers and Zach Evans as dynasty stashes. Talk to me about Ronnie Rivers and Zach Evans.
So Zach Evans is going to be for the more shallow leagues, quiet as a rookie, didn't do anything. Now he's available in over 50% of leagues. It's what have you done for me lately? Once the rookie fever wears off, everyone's forgotten about Zach Evans. And Ronnie Rivers is for the deeper leagues. He's rostered 10% of sleeper leagues. And for both these guys, it's really just the situation. That Rams backfield, look, the only person I know that saw Kyren Williams coming at all was one of my best friends in the business, the early down grinder. Chris nailed it with Kyren Williams. But the interesting thing with the Rams offense is that since Todd Gurley's retired, they haven't had a leading rusher repeat that following season. It's been 4 straight seasons of a different guy leading the backfield. And Kyren Williams, it was impressive what he did. It's not a perfect prospect. And when you look at just profiles, you go, Kyren Williams, 5th round draft pick, Ronnie Rivers, undrafted free agent, Zach Evans, 6th round draft capital. None of those guys are paid. And we've seen with Sean McVay that he's just going to feed the hot hand. So these guys are available, widely available. Why not take a swing on these guys? Because Kyren Williams, fantastic last year. Does he repeat this year? Probably not. And if McVay decides that he just needs to shake things up a little bit, these guys are free.
Yeah, I think it comes back to that conversation too with stashes, and how many guys you roster. And I'm in some leagues where it's 30-man rosters, and I always like to keep as many of these running backs as I can possibly fit that makes sense. And some of these running backs that you can make a case for getting on the field if the right situation happens. And I think these are a couple good ones. that you bring up. And again, Ronnie Rivers, you can find him just about everywhere. He's only rostered in 10% of leagues, and Zach Evans isn't even rostered in 50% of sleeper leagues. And the next, you have another running back on this list too that I really like as well, because he saw some playing time as early as last year, and that's Justice Hill. Why don't you talk to me about Justice Hill and why you think he's a dynasty stash?
It's weird that he's considered a dynasty stash, right? Because Justice Hill was productive last season. It was his best year. And I think what it just comes down to is he's now been in the league for 5 seasons, right? He's not young, so everyone's already moved on from him. But he's only rostered in 24% of sleeper leagues. That 3/4 of dynasty leagues, Justice Hill's available, and kind of like the Rams backfield, right? It's situation. Look at the Ravens backfield right now. Dobbins, free agent, and he's injured. And before he even got injured, he was already like 1 foot out the door. Also, Gus Edwards, free agent. Dalvin Cook, he's cooked. The only other running back that's under contract besides Justice Hill is Keaton Mitchell, and he had the late season torn ACL. Right now, it's a lot of things are going to change in Baltimore, but Justice Hill is the best running back on the Ravens backfield that's under contract. And statistically, like when we look at the analytics from Player Profiler, top 20 in juke rate, top 20 in breakaway run rate as well, yards per reception, yards per touch, like he is what we like in analytics. And he won't be like an RB2, but you do need these guys. These are flex plays. So Justice Hill, I know, love the situation. There's no guarantee that Baltimore does anything drastic to their backfield.
Yeah, and a stat that I really like that you can also find on playerprofiler.com, but you could probably also, find it most anywhere. Baltimore, they like to do this thing called running the ball. They are number 1 in the entire NFL in team run plays per game. And so like whoever winds up there, whether it's Derrick Henry, like the big rumors are they're interested in Derrick Henry. This is the new age NFL where multiple running backs are used. And if they like to run the ball that much, they'd be smart to preserve a veteran like Derrick Henry by mixing in Justice Hill. And the fact that he's only rostered in 24% of leagues right now, if you're playing on sleeper, and who knows like what kind of formats you guys are playing in, where he could just be widely available, or he already is. It seems like that's a really good one. Now we're going to get a little bit deeper into the weeds now. And we're going to talk about Tanner Hudson, Aaron. Why do you think Tanner Hudson is a good dynasty stash? Because he's only rostered in 10% of sleeper leagues right now.
Well, one more thing on Justice Hill before I get to Tanner Hudson that I like, because of course you mentioned the key stat. The Ravens run the ball more than anyone else. But what do people always say? Well, Lamar Jackson's there and he's going to run the ball. And he still is. He's just not running as much. Last season was the least amount of carries per game. His rushing yard total was down 12.5 yards per game. That was fewer than like any other season. Like Lamar Jackson's still running, but he's not running like the Lamar Jackson that we're conditioned to. So if they're still leading the league in carries, but Lamar Jackson's rushing less, like someone's got to pick it up there. So another reason with Justice Hill or just Ravens backfield in general. But Tanner Hudson, like the 29-year-old breakout season that everyone saw coming, right? It's what Irv Smith was supposed to be. Pour one out for Irv Smith. But with Tanner Hudson, he only got to play 5 games with Joe Burrow. And in those games, the splits were an average of 3.6 receptions, 35 receiving yards. He didn't score a touchdown. He only scored 1 touchdown all season. Targets, it was 4.4 targets per game. However, when you take that across a 17-game season, that's 61 receptions. That's 595 receiving yards. If he plays a full season on Joe Burrow, and I get it, small sample size, but if that was a 17-game season for him, there's only 13 tight ends last season that topped 595 receiving yards. Like that's when you start to really conceptualize like how sneaky good Tanner Hudson was for those of us that didn't have the Travis Kelce's, the Sam Laportas that were streaming tight ends. Like he's a streamable tight end. He's rostered in 10% because he's 29 years old, but he's a restricted free agent. And I don't see him leaving the Bengals, which is how well he did overall. We get into like the advanced stats. Like he The counting stats weren't big, but target rate, number 10 amongst tight ends. Target rate's not target share, but just when he was on the field, the quarterbacks loved throwing the ball to him. And that's something that all Joe Burrow offenses in his NFL career want to do. He's always had his starting tight end with 40 plus receptions. And Tanner Hudson right now, he's the guy. Like, it's not Drew Sample. It's not anyone else. Could they draft someone? Sure. But honestly, it's a weak tight end class outside, of course, Brock Bowers. Like, once Brock Bowers is off the board, there's no for sure thing. So why not bring back the guy that was productive last season? And it's just the simple dynasty mindset of going, we want players on great offenses. I want players that Joe Burrow's throwing the ball to. And 90% of leagues, you can get them for free.
Yeah, that's it's a good one. Like, this is why you come here. This is for the deep stashes. And I was just, while you were talking, I was just trying to pull up. I was trying to think if there's any free agent tight ends, but the Bengals, I believe, are not in a position really to like, I don't think it would be smart for them to go out and get a free agent tight end. And I'm scrolling right now, and I'm sure the chat will let us know. Like, I don't really see like anybody that would be a significant upgrade. Like, I'm just scrolling on PFF, and I haven't come. Dalton Schultz, maybe, like, that's
Schultz
the
is
name.
the key guy, and then a bunch of question marks.
Yeah, so it's not a bad chance to take it. Like I said, there's nothing better in the world than a free player. So if you have the roster space, yeah, I think I endorse that one. I have no issues there. We're gonna shift back to the running back position, and this is a guy that I think I really liked when he came out, and we had a lot of high hopes for him until he got drafted by this team that just likes to destroy our hopes and dreams in the fantasy football space, and that's the New England Patriots. So, Aaron, talk to me about why you think Kevin Harris is a good dynasty stash.
It wasn't that long ago in college football that Kevin Harris was a sophomore at South Carolina, that he rushed for 1,100 rushing yards, 10 games, averaged over 6 yards per carry. Like, he was going to be the next big thing. He was playing against SEC competition. Unfortunately, injures his back surgery, junior season, not quite as well. Runs a 4.67. When you start to go through the events, you go, that's why a player that was productive as a sophomore in the SEC falls to the 6th round. And he didn't even make the team as a rookie. And honestly, it took him a little bit of time to get any opportunities this year. And the thing with Kevin Harris is that this backfield, or really the Patriots offense in general, they need something. They need explosive plays, because this stat blew my mind. I posted on my Twitter. It was, you looked at Ezekiel Elliott and you looked at Ramondre Stevenson, and they combined for 4 breakaway runs on 340 carries. Meanwhile, Kevin Harris, who got, I think it was like 14 carries, had two breakaway runs. He also had like this massive catch too. Like, on small sample size, he brought this explosive factor that this Patriots backfield and offense in general needed. And if you're on the Patriots staff, you're going, man, we can't just go and fix this team just with free agency, just with the draft. There's got to be something internal. Like, Zeke's a free agent. I don't see why he'd be back. And Ramondre Stevenson, he's not bad, but like, he's slow. Like, he's not going to be a guy that you want to give him all the work. You need another option. You talked about it. Backfields have changed. There's not a lot of bell cows anymore. Why not give Kevin Harris a little bit more of a run, especially if it seems in that small sample size that the back injury from 2020, 2021, he might be recovered from, kind of resembling more of the running back that we saw at his peak in college football.
I think, yeah, and in general, I think it's a good idea to target new coaching staffs. New coaching staffs have a different perspective, a different way of evaluating talent, and you just never know. And if there's an opportunity for a player like Kevin Harris, we all know that there are certain general managers. The Bears general manager is one of them that doesn't like to spend high draft capital on a running back, and that's kind of the way the NFL is going. We're going to see it this year. Like, there's not going to be too many. We'll see how many day 2 running backs there end up being. But this is kind of apparent. I mean, the Detroit Lions kind of threw a monkey wrench into it last year, in the Atlanta Falcons, same story. But as we shift to more of the running back by committee, it's going to be more and more important to identify these situations like potentially there is in New England where, it might not be a full season where you get a Kevin Harris like producing for your fantasy team, but there might be 2, 3, 4 weeks where he's usable. And then that can be extremely valuable if the injuries hit like they always do. And so to stay on top of this stuff is like these conversations that we're having now, talking about these dynasty stashes and players to target right now, to stay one step ahead of your opponents is so important. And that leads us to what was I think a player profiler favorite, and now people have forgotten about him because he's rostered in just 25% of sleeper leagues. Jalen Tolbert. Talk to me about Jalen Tolbert for a little bit, Aaron.
Sure. So let's talk about why Player Profiler liked him so much. It's you pull up the profile. There's two metrics that just pop off to you. It's the college dominator, which is 96th percentile, and it's the college target share, which is 95th. I might have those numbers backwards, but essentially it's elite. Now it's like, why did he not hit immediately in the NFL at least? Well, he did that at South Alabama. Now, the good thing is that's what we want to see from the small school guys is that most small school guys, they're not going to do anything in the NFL. But the ones that actually have a chance are the ones that are that top tier of their own in the advanced metrics. And Tolbert, as a rookie, played 8 games, had like 12 total receiving yards, and people were so quick to drop him. I play in a lot of dynasty leagues, and I was shocked that so many people, after 1 year, dropping him when people were drafting him with like second-round draft capital in their rookie drafts. And I've been stashing Tolbert since last season. Anytime I saw someone drop him, I picked him up. Sure, why not? And this season, there wasn't like a big boom performance, but this gradual increase in playing time. And at the same time, Michael Gallup's playing time gradually decreasing. And guess who's likely a cap casualty with the Dallas Cowboys? Michael Gallup. And on another note, too, like Brandon Cooks, I wouldn't say he's a likely cap casualty, but he's a potential one. Like, what if the Cowboys just decide, you know what, we've really got to shake things up? We've got some great pieces, CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson, but with Pollard maybe out the door, like they might decide, we got to change some other things too. Cooks is 31 years old. Cooks had maybe outside of touchdowns saved him. It might have been like his worst fantasy season since that last season with the Rams. Oh, I think that was like 2017. Like, take away 8 touchdowns and just look at the receptions and yards. And it's like, oh, Brandon Cooks is a 31-year-old receiver. I'm starting to look like a 31-year-old receiver. So if they're gone, paves the way for Jalen Tolbert. And Gallup's going to be gone. And Tolbert's, when you look at some of the advanced metrics, you have to squint a little. Some of it wasn't pretty, but some things that catch my attention is 15% target rate. Again, not target share, target rate. That's his targets per route run. But 15%, that's okay. That's okay. Like that, there's life. And also his ADOT, 13.2. Like these receivers that we want to stash is just hopefully a lottery ticket. I don't want the slot receivers that are averaging like 7 or 8 yards per reception. I want the guys making big plays. And Jalen Tolbert, coming from South Alabama in I believe it's the Sun Belt Conference to the NFL, I think it's logical to go, well, yeah, it took 2 years for one of the top tier performers in the Sun Belt Conference to adjust to the NFL. And now entering his 3rd season, looks like there's going to be some more opportunity for him. I like Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah, and I brought up Brandon Cooks' contract. You're right. There's a potential out after 2024, or like this year.
This offseason,
yeah. Like they could save $4 million if they cut him. So I mean that's an option that's on the table. And for a team like the Cowboys who don't have money to waste, who likely want to feel like they're in that Super Bowl window. Maybe it's passed them by. I don't know. But regardless of how we feel, like they probably feel like they have a chance at a Super Bowl. That $4 million could come in handy. So who knows? Like, again, it's a player that, like you said, a lot of people have forgotten about. And if you're playing on the opposite end of CeeDee Lamb, there could be some opportunities there. And Brandon Cooks is 31 years old. So that might be a smart move. This one, I'm actually surprised that this is a dynasty stash for you. So it's intriguing, but you're gonna have to convince me, Aaron. Jarrett Stidham. I thought this guy was dead and gone forever. In our, I mean, he could have been dead and gone forever when the Patriots draft him, because that's typically what happens. But Jarrett Stidham, talk to me about why you believe he's a dynasty stash, and then after we talk about Jarrett Stidham, we'll take a quick informative segment break, and then you will get to play judge, jury, and potentially executioner of these dynasty stashes. So stay tuned for that. But first, talk to me about Jarrett Stidham.
Strictly super flex leagues. But here's the reason why. It's not that there's anything in Stidham's profile that caught my attention going, oh yeah, like Stidham might be the sneaky good quarterback. But look at just last season. Here are some of the quarterbacks that I was able to stash and be able to flip for draft picks. Picked up Josh Dobbs like before the season. He goes and he's playing so well at the start of the season, cashed out. Got like a rookie third-round pick. I knew exactly what I had there. I knew it was fool's gold. Took the draft pick. Gardner Minshew. Found the team that needed a quarterback, flipped Minshew for a second-round pick. Last season, Nick Mullins had back-to-back weeks, and I believe it was weeks 15 and 16. He was a top 12 fantasy quarterback. Like, in Superflex, quarterbacks are currency. And if Stidham is going to be the starting quarterback, it's a weird situation in Denver, right? Russell Wilson is going to be cut, and there's going to be a lot of dead cap, and I don't know how the Broncos are going to navigate that. And I know a lot of mock drafts have the Broncos targeting their quarterback of the future. It's JJ McCarthy. I see him there frequently, but like they're still like in the middle of the first round. There's no guarantee that they get their quarterback. And it's possible these mock drafts, right, that they like the quarterbacks more than the Denver Broncos. I mean, my theory on this one is going, if the Broncos are still picking at that spot, why would they draft a quarterback that's going to be probably the fourth or fifth best QB in a rookie class? Why not just go, we'll roll with Stidham for better or for worse? They're probably hoping for worse, so they get a higher draft pick next season and get a much better quarterback prospect instead of drafting like I don't know. I'm not a huge like Bo Nix, Michael Penix fan. Like, I'm sorry, those guys have been in college forever. There's a reason they've been in college forever. So the theory on this one's just going, what if the Broncos just don't add to their quarterback room? Stidham is a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he's free. And you don't keep him the entire year. You wait, like it's the Josh Dobbs effect. You strike when the iron's hot, you get a draft pick, you get out, and you go, thank you, Jarrett Stidham, for producing a rookie draft pick.
I like the way you spun that. It's not bad. That's not bad. The Denver Broncos are one of the more perplexing teams in the NFL. Like, I don't know how it benefits you to basically let your franchise quarterback know late in the season, like, yeah, we don't want you as our starting quarterback anymore, just so you know. Like, why? I mean, Sean Payton, if they come out of this ahead of where they were this year, and I know they started out badly and turned it around, but it really feels like they're up against it with the cap situation with Russell Wilson. And there's a world, and just being on your side here for a minute, I think it's a long shot, but there is a world where like they have no other choice, because maybe they don't like one of these quarterbacks. Maybe they're not able to get one. Maybe they're like, it's just, who knows? Who knows? And you're right. Targeting these situations in a super flex league feels like a smart move right now if you have the roster space. But thank you, Aaron, those are Aaron's dynasty stashes. When we come back after this short informative segment break from the Podfather, I will present my dynasty stashes, and Aaron will tell me whether it's a good stash or not. And we're going to do this quick break right now from the Dynasty Dominator app. And that is, of course, assuming that I can find this dynasty read here. The Dynasty Dominator, if you're not familiar with it, you should be. And here it is right here, the Dynasty Dominator app, informative segment from the Podfather. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator app. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add Superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from PlayerProfiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side, prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
The Dynasty Dominator app, every year it's $5. I know every year you got to pay for it, but it's worth it. Trust me. It helps me evaluate my Dynasty teams, and it's a great tool, man. It's a great tool. Another resource that you need to use is a free one, and it's called the Dynasty Warzone with Memphis Young and Jerry Sinclair. I was on there. I finagled my way onto the show. I don't know how it happened, but he let me come on. So I go check out the latest episode. It's up on the YouTube channel. But don't go anywhere right now. Like, check it out after this show and maybe after Trade Gods, because that's another good show that's coming up after this show. So check out all the programs. Really, you need to click the like and subscribe button right now to be tapped in with us as well. But we're gonna get into it right now. This will be live on the website as in the form of an article. These are my 20 Dynasty stashes, and I don't know if we're gonna get to them all. And to start, right, we kind of sort of defined a Dynasty stash. To me, it really depends on the size of your league. There's some FFPC Dynasty leagues where you only have 20 roster spots. And then like you and me, we play in some where there's 30, 35 roster spots or more. So, and then maybe there's some taxi squad spots as well. So there's all kinds of different Dynasty leagues out there. So I try to cover each one. And so this first tier, right, is like, they're probably not available, but if you go to your waiver wire and they're available, like, you have to run to your waiver wire and pick them up now. And I'll admit, like, this first guy's probably not available, but it's Dontavian Wicks. He's rostered in 78% of sleeper leagues, and Wicks has been on the field about 40% of the time, and that currently resides in the shadow of like Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. But Wicks is big. He's a big-bodied wide receiver, and from weeks 8 to 11, he earned at least 4 targets in each of those games. And like I said, he's got good size and good burst to go with that. And we all know that I was wrong. I was wrong about Jordan Love, Aaron. I was wrong. He looks to be pretty good, okay? And in an offense with an ascending quarterback and Matt LaFleur, who's a pretty good offensive coach, it's just one of those situations in Dynasty that I am going to look to acquire a player like this. So what do you think? Is that a good Dynasty stash, Dontavian Wicks? It's not as a deep cut as Jared Stidham, right? It's not quite Dave Matthews deep tracks only, right? But what do you think?
So we'll start with Jordan Love. I'm really glad that you were wrong about him, because you and I are in this Player Profiler Patreon Dynasty League, and this guy right here won with Jordan Love being one of my quarterbacks. So I love Jordan Love, and with Dontavian Wicks, like, you look at the depth chart, and the Packers are pretty cut and dry this offseason in terms of their skill position players. It's a young roster. There isn't any cap casualties or anything. However, like the core 4 wide receivers, Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, there's question marks. There is not a guy that is established as the wide receiver 1. Christian Watson flashed. Christian Watson also spent twice as much time injured than he did flashing. So like, Watson could be the best receiver, or he could be on injured reserve. Jaden Reed, I loved Jaden Reed as a rookie. Like before he entered the NFL, just loved the profile. Spent 1 year at a small school, realized he's better than all these guys, and transferred up in conference. Baller move. But with Jaden Reed, is he going to get on the field enough to be the top receiver? So it's going to come down to like Romeo Doubs versus Dontavian Wicks. They're competing for the same starting spot. And Doubs has been productive, but not like overwhelming either. And Dontavian Wicks came out of nowhere. Over 500 receiving yards, very productive as a rookie. And if you're going to stash a wide receiver, like this is an ambiguous wide receiver, I almost said backfield, wide receiver room that like, hey, there's a possibility. It might be a small chance, but there's a possibility he ends up being the best receiver. There's nothing set in stone on who the best receiver is.
Yeah, and these goddamn Packers, they keep on drafting good players late, and I think Dontavian Wicks is another one of those guys. Like if you just look at their draft class this past year, Aaron, Dontavian Wicks, Luke Musgrave, like Jaden Reed, like they just, I don't know, like the Packers just seem to draft good players, and it infuriates me as a Bears fan. So anyway,
I approve of Dontavian Wicks.
All right, Judge has approved that one. The next player up, Tank Bigsby. He's currently rostered in about 76% of sleeper leagues. And Aaron, he's the RB2 in Jacksonville behind Travis Etienne on the depth chart. And while he didn't get the opportunities we'd like to see from a running back, Jacksonville did use a 3rd-round pick on him in last year's draft, and they have a lot of other needs other than running back. And especially since Travis Etienne had a really good season, I would be shocked if they drafted another running back in this class or signed a free agent running back. I'd probably be more shocked if they signed a free agent. He could be a nice handcuff to have if he's available. And anyway, like this, there are multiple signs that this Jacksonville offense, like it slowed down towards the end of last year, but I really believe it slowed down because Trevor Lawrence was playing through an injury. So this is still an offense that I want pieces of. And for all those reasons and more, if Tank Bigsby is available, I think I'm adding him. What do you think?
Yeah, with running backs in fantasy in general, but also dynasty, like talent level doesn't really matter. Like you can be sitting there in your dynasty leagues and you can just hate on Tank Bigsby and think that he's just horrible. But if he's a running back that could potentially be a 3-down running back, if, knock on wood, if something were to happen to Travis Etienne, Bigsby's got size. He's shown an ability to catch passes, maybe not in the NFL. Shown some pass catching ability. And yeah, last year, whatever could have gone wrong did go wrong for Tank Bigsby. But still, I'll take a flyer on Tank Bigsby. Untalented running backs gain volume. I mean, just look at another Florida team with Rachaad White. Like he gets volume and he's good in fantasy, but he doesn't have to necessarily be good at football. So with Bigsby, you stash him because you stash every number 2 running back in a backfield, especially the guys that profile as a 3-down running back.
All right. So I get approval there. Number three, Grit. I cannot believe how fickle some people are, Aaron, in this world, in this tight end world that we live in, where tight ends are so unpredictable. Outside of the top 5, like maybe Sam Laporta is flipping the script and now a rookie tight end is just going to hit every year. Probably not, right? But in this world that we live in with the tight ends, where there's only like 5 of them that you go, yep, I can bank on a good season from them. How in the world is Greg Dulcich only rostered in 74% of leagues? He was everyone's darling last year. He rose up the early redraft rankings because of a news story by like Sean Payton was like, yeah, I really like this guy. This is one of my guys. I'm going to use him in the Joker role. And then everybody thought of, the Joker and Batman. And then, then they moved on with their lives. But so Greg Dulcich, he had a hamstring injury. So he has a legitimate excuse. He missed 14 games because he was a lingering hamstring injury. And he's still just 23 years old. And he's a tight end in this offense now that, according to Aaron Stewart, is going to have Jarrett Stidham starting at quarterback. But no, like they're going to be looking for an upgrade, though. They're going to be looking for an upgrade at quarterback. And they have Sean Payton, who's on the record as saying, like, this guy is one of the players that I feel like I can use in my system. how have people dropped Greg Dulcich? I'm amazed that he's available in as many leagues as he is in. And my guess is in some of these shallower leagues, like he's probably available in more leagues than we think. So what do you think? Greg Dulcich, good dynasty stash? I don't even know if he is a dynasty stash, to be honest. I think I might be cheating here.
He's still available in a lot of leagues, but it's eye-popping that in a quarter of leagues that he's available, because you're right. Like, he got injured. That sucks. It's out of his control. Yeah. He didn't forget how to play football. And last year, you rewind the clock 365 days ago, people were like, this is the sleeper tight end, not dynasty, but in redraft, this is the sleeper tight end that you want. Now, I know, like, I might be patting myself on the back on that one. I wasn't falling for Greg Dulcich last year at his cost. And a lot of the cost is more like best ball. I was like, I think it's getting a little outrageous, but I can also say, it's getting a little outrageous with his dynasty current value. Like, the dude he's a good receiver. That's what entering the NFL, that's what he was. He is a tight end that is more of a pass catcher than a blocker, a little on the smaller side. I typically want tight ends that might be on the field a little bit more, but this Broncos offense is going to need someone. And you look at the situation, look at the receivers. It's Jerry Jeudy, maybe traded. I don't know. Sutton suddenly seems like he's going to be safe, but yeah, like, it's this whole receiving room is it's shaky right now. So, and that's an opportunity for, we'll say, a dynasty stash, but he's widely available, but a dynasty stash in Greg Dulcich to be able to take over and remind people why he was overrated last year in pre-draft for last season. So yeah, I like Greg Dulcich.
All right. We're going to have to disagree at some point.
We will.
All right. So anyway, get approval there. Number 4, Trey Palmer. All right. Somehow, again, 68% of leagues he's rostered in. If he's somehow and you're available, please add him. I know he was a 6th round wide receiver, day 3 wide receiver. However, he saw the field a lot and he produced late in the season. He finished the last 4 games, and this includes the playoff games, with 3 top 20 wide receiver finishes. So 3 out of those 4 games, he finished as a top 20 wide receiver or better. And I believe one of those games, he was the wide receiver 13 on the week. There's also a chance that Mike Evans leaves in free agency. And currently the reports are mixed regarding Mike Evans. Some people are saying, oh, for sure, they're going to tag him and sign him. Other people are saying that they're not going to do that they're going to tag the safety, I think, Antoine Winfield. So I don't know. But it's possible Mike Evans comes back, but he could leave. But everybody that I listen to expects the Buccaneers to bring back Baker Mayfield. And I think that can only be good for a deep threat like Trey Palmer. So what do you think? Pro Trey Palmer or Trey Palmer?
We'll say pro, because I still feel we haven't gotten into the stashes yet in Dynasty, but Trey Palmer showed, like, okay, he's a 6th round pick, but right now the draft capital doesn't matter because he performs so much better than a rookie 6th round pick. The Buccaneers just got a gem. And I like the Mike Evans point that you brought up. It's Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield, that connection. And something I want people to remember is, like, the Baker Mayfield, the resurrection could have been spotted a mile away. You go to PlayerProfiler and you look at Baker Mayfield before last season, it's like top 10 in deep ball accuracy, in deep ball completion percentage, like every single season of his career. Of course, Mike Evans had one of his best seasons. And if that means that Trey Palmer is now going to step into a Mike Evans light role, you really can't replace Mike Evans, 6'4", 230 pounds. But if Trey Palmer is going to be the deep threat there, Mayfield's still going to fling it, and it's going to be good for Trey Palmer. So, yeah, Trey Palmer, like, assuming Evans is gone, there's Chris Godwin, who is starting to age a little bit. At tight end, there's Cade Otton. Rachaad White's going to catch a lot of passes, but there's opportunity to grow from that strong rookie season. So, yeah, I'm on board with Trey Palmer. I was stashing him last year. If people weren't drafting him in rookie drafts, one of my favorite guys. I immediately think of friend of the show, Cody. Yep. Just being Trey Palmer.
Yeah, so we'll zoom through the rest of this tier. All right. The rest of this tier is Cedric Tillman at number 5. I think in that Browns offense, I think with Deshaun Watson, a lot's going to depend on if he can come back. Israel Banakanda, who's rostered in 65% of sleeper leagues, is the number 2 behind Breece Hall currently with the New York Jets. I think that's a pretty good situation. And John Mechie, who is a former second-round pick. You get an attachment to the Houston offense. What do you think, Aaron? Is there one of those 3 players that stands out as a good one or a bad one? Initial thoughts.
I'm gonna go because man, it'd be a great story. But John Mechie is the guy that I'm rooting for, right? The
Yeah.
dude missed a rookie season because of cancer, and of course, like first season back, it's essentially a rookie season for him. But there can be some opportunity right now at the top. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, that's the 1-2. Noah Brown's a free agent. Robert Woods is expensive, likely cap casualty. If they can't retain Noah Brown, who had some massive performances, he always got injured after like 2 or 3 of them. And Robert Woods, they go, we're not going to pay you. I think it's like $9.5 million. Mechie, with that former second-round draft capital, steps in to be the number 3 wide receiver for the Houston Texans offense. Kind of like what we talked about with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Like, if CJ Stroud's legit, you're going to want weapons. And, oh, yeah, also Dalton Schultz is a free agent too. So, hey, look, like these guys that were ahead of them on the depth chart or the receiving pecking order, they could be gone. So, opportunity for John Mechie. I like it.
Cool. All right. We're going to move to my player 8, and this is my tier, the first player in my tier 2. They're probably available. So they're rostered in like 50-ish% of leagues. And we're going to start with A.T. Perry, who's rostered in 58%. Perry only played in 3 games, but he has impressed in limited playing time. And he might still be available in your dynasty leagues. Like the Saints depth chart is thin at wide receiver outside of Olave or Rashid Shaheed. So Perry should be a big part of this offense going forward. And to top it all off, right, not only does he have good size, speed, and burst, he checks a lot of those boxes, but the Saints are in, as they always are, this stupid cap situation where they can't add anybody else to their team. And I don't know how they keep doing it every year. So I don't necessarily foresee much competition for like an outside receiver in New Orleans. But what do you think? Is A.T. Perry a good stash?
Yeah, it's Rashid Shaheed from what I guess last season, right? Like the reason Shaheed becomes a thing is all the reasons that you laid out. Like the Saints can't do anything in free agency because they're always, this is how they team build. They manipulate the salary cap, but it prevents them from really bringing in like a veteran guy. So yeah, there's going to be opportunity because I think for reals this time, Michael Thomas is done with the Saints. I fell for it last year, thought they were going to cut him. And then I looked at that weird contract they gave him. I was like, oh, they might keep him. But Thomas is washed at this point. So A.T. Perry would step into that. I guess probably my only concern is I go, Olave is clearly the number 1. Rashid Shaheed is legit. That's a legit receiving weapon in the NFL. Jawan Johnson at tight end, who he dealt with some injuries, but he's going to be a pass catcher. The only reason I'm not super excited about A.T. Perry is not from a lack of opportunity, but just going, man, number four guy on a Saints offense with Derek Carr at quarterback. I don't know. I understand why he's a stash there, and he definitely impressed in those 3 games, but he's not one of my targets.
All right. And I don't know why I said he only played in 3 games because he clearly played in like 10. So I don't know why I said that.
Was it maybe starts? Did he start
maybe
3 games?
That's maybe. I have to double check the notes, these scribbles that I have on here. So sometimes, I'm sure somebody in the chat probably corrected me. But it's all good. Number 9. All right. We'll move on. A guy that Cody really liked, that I really liked in last year's draft class, is Trey Tucker. He's a speedster. He put some really good games together in 2023. And the Raiders enter a new era under Antonio Pierce. And it's possible, the rumors have already started. I think Davante Adams would be an idiot for doing this. If he wants to win a Super Bowl, he should not go to the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers. But there's rumors that Davante Adams could be traded, and that could open up opportunities for players like Trey Tucker. So what do you think? Trey Tucker, who's rostered in 54% of sleeper leagues right now, is sitting out there in a lot of leagues. What do you think, Aaron?
I like him more than A.T. Perry, mainly because will Devontae Adams get traded? It's uncertain, but the fact that for it feels like a year, right, a full year of Devontae Adams trade rumors. Like if you're going to be stashing players, you're playing the odds, and you're going, if Adams leaves, who Adams has always been one of the target share leaders in the NFL, that opens up that offense for anyone to step up. Meanwhile, like A.T. Perry, like Chris Olave ain't going anywhere. He's staying. So that's why I like Trey Tucker so much more as a stash candidate, because there's an opportunity. And Tucker, he surprised me. Admittedly, I wasn't super high on him, but stats don't lie. Like, he was productive. And Hunter Renfrow is definitely gone, right? We can agree. Like, he's going to get cut, way too expensive. And the official depth chart has Tucker ahead of Hunter Renfrow. So, yeah, already there.
That contract for Hunter Renfrow, like these contracts for some of these teams, like it's just unbelievable how it happens. Like how do smart people make these decisions, and how do I get a job like that so I can not do that, like not sign the Hunter Renfrows of the world. Anyway, so player number 10 on my list. Again, this is a learned man, Andre Yashovis. I think he went to Princeton. I think that's right. This is a deep league stat. He's rostered in 53% of leagues. He's with the Bengals. There's this T. Higgins situation looming. Tyler Boyd is getting up there in age. Yashovis, you look at his player profiler profile, and he's got the athleticism. So what do you think? Andre Yashovis, good dynasty stash?
Yeah, because it's not just that Higgins is a free agent. Boyd, you said he's getting up there in age. Boyd is straight up a free agent. So there's two paths, right? There's two guys ahead of him on the depth chart, and they're both free agents. Like, Higgins can be back, and I always say his name wrong.
Yashovis. I'm probably saying it wrong, but that's how some people
I'll take it. Okay. I know I'm definitely saying it wrong, but super athletic too. Like, he's a multi-sport athlete, normally like that for tight ends, but scored 4 touchdowns. Like, didn't have like the huge receptions, receiving yards, but he scored 4 touchdowns. That's crazy. So yeah, the only reason he might not be a good stash is that if you're in smart dynasty leagues, he's been stashed, but the numbers don't lie. 53% is what he's rostered in sleeper. Like, there's a coin flip. If you're in 10 sleeper leagues, 5 of those leagues, he's sitting there just free for the taking. Go take, I'm not going to say his name, I'm going to butcher it. Go take the Princeton guy.
The Princeton guy. There you go. Player number 11 is Parker Washington. Calvin Ridley's a free agent. Zay Jones is a 29-year-old with an $11 million cap hit in 2024 and is a potential cap casualty. Christian Kirk ended the season on IR. It took, let's see, he's only rostered in 53% of leagues, and it took a while for him to get on the field, but all of his production came during a 6-week stretch to end the 2023 season. And there's definitely a path for him to see increased role in 2024 and 2025. So what do you think? What do you think, Aaron? Parker Washington in that Jaguars offense that I spoke of earlier, that I think, is good. Is a good offense to have pieces of. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to go with a twist here. If you're a rebuilding team, play the long game. Take them. Don't expect much from them this season, but next year, like when Kirk is another year older and getting close to 30, and Ridley, let's just say that he's already gone. Like, there's opportunity. It's not so much that 2024 I'm expecting much from him, but 2025, entering that 3rd season, there's going to be some opportunity for him, probably as the next slot receiver. He is a yards after catch guy. And one of my weaknesses in dynasty football, Penn State wide receivers, Allen Robinson, Jahan Dotson, Chris Godwin. I've loved all of them. And pre-NFL draft, like, I don't know. Like, I was just watching Parker Washington. It's like, I love this guy because, of course, he plays at Penn State. But, yeah, low expectations 2024. If you're rebuilding and you're looking ahead past 2024, go grab them.
All right, last player in this tier. We're going the tight end route. We're going Luke Schoonmaker, who was drafted by the Cowboys in round 2 of the NFL draft. All right. He plays tight end, like I mentioned, and Jake Ferguson is going to be on the team for a while, But if anything were to happen to him, Schoonmaker would be next in line. That's like my only trepidation about this, is that Jake Ferguson is there and he's clearly the starter. But if you look at Schoonmaker's profile, he's a super athlete. He was in, and he came into the league a little bit later. He was 24 years old when he was drafted. But this take is predicated on the Dallas Cowboys using a second-round draft pick on Schoonmaker. Clearly, they have some expectations for him, right?
The thing I'll say is, for fantasy purposes, I wouldn't stash them this year, because tight ends do historically, they take some time to develop, to truly start producing. It's probably what's going to be for Shoemaker. And it's hard to say that you want to use one of your precious dynasty roster spots to pick him up. I know he's available in 50% of leagues, but man, I'd much rather, if it's super flex, take the flyer on a quarterback, right? That could quickly give me a draft pick and then open up a roster spot. And if you really want, you could stash him. Or that running back that's an injury away from becoming a starter. Like with Shoemaker, Jake Ferguson's there for 2 more seasons, and I don't think Ferguson's going to go away. So that's why I wouldn't stash Shoemaker this year. Just feels like it's going to clog your roster.
All right. That's fair. That's fair take. We're getting into tier 3 now. So we're getting to where like most of these guys are going to be available, and we'll focus on the ones that I think are the most like important, or like maybe the ones that are most likely available. And we're going to talk about my guy, Xavier Hutchinson, available in 46% of leagues. And this is very simple, and I like to keep it simple for myself sometimes. I want exposure to the Houston Texans offense. We already talked about John Mechie. Let's say John Mechie's already been stashed by somebody. Hutchinson might be available. Now, I get it. He's behind Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and John Mechie potentially. But there is that you can see it. There's a pathway to opportunity there in some of these wide receiver sets, especially if there's an injury. So what do you think? Is Xavier Hutchinson a good dynasty stash?
We'll keep it short and simple. We'll say yes. And it's just that your thought of going, we want pieces, good offenses, we want CJ Stroud's weapons. Let's go with Xavier Hutchinson.
All right. No, the next player up is Noah Gray, another tight end. He's rostered in 45% of leagues. He's next in line behind Travis Kelce, and Gray has proven to get some opportunities even when Kelce's not plays a good majority of the snaps. And Gray's, that handcuff at the position, if you can call a tight end handcuff. But it's one of those situations where I want pieces of an offense with Patrick Mahomes, who has a lack of pass catchers right now. I mean, basically it's Rashee Rice and, Travis Kelce. And if anything happens to Travis Kelce, God forbid, or he decides to retire, who knows what's going on with him and Taylor Swift, then Gray obviously gets an automatic boost and he's ingrained in the system. So what do you think? Noah Gray, good dynasty stash, or no? Are we going anti-tight end again?
I'll say anti-tight end, but tight end premium. The positive thing I'll say with Noah Gray, we saw Travis Kelce miss some time, and Gray became a guy that played like all of the snaps. So depending on your roster construction, if you're okay knowing what you're doing with Noah Gray, you're waiting for Travis Kelce to maybe retire, then that's fine. But if you're stashing him and going, oh yeah, he'll definitely break out this year, no. Like tight end premium leagues, love it. But regular like super flex leagues, it's just because of the position. Tight ends a dime a dozen.
Gotcha. I will move on to another player who plays for my Chicago Bears, and that's Tyler Scott. Tyler Scott hasn't done much this season, but he is the Bears wide receiver 3, and he has seen the field, and he does possess really good speed and burst. And now Darnell Mooney is likely going to move on. He's likely going to leave in free agency. And the Bears, they do hold the number 1 pick and the number 9 pick, but I suspect that the wide receivers the Bears are going to be interested in are going to all be gone by the time that number 9 pick rolls around. And I thoroughly expect that the Bears are going to trade out of that number 9 pick. Maybe they draft one of these later receivers. Maybe that's a Troy Franklin, but there's no guarantee. I think he's going to Tyler Scott is going to have a role on this offense with Caleb Williams, again, connected to a quarterback that I really like. So what do you think? Is Tyler Scott a good dynasty stash?
Yeah, I know the mock drafts have wide receiver in the first round to the Bears, but currently looking with the information we have, there's DJ Moore and there's Cole Kmet at the top. It's wide open after that. So, yeah, why not with Tyler Scott?
Here's one that I think you're going to like, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to go Evan Hull, who's available. Well, he's rostered in 36% of sleeper leagues. He's a former third round, or rather, he's right behind Jonathan Taylor, right? But Zach Moss, Trey Sermon, who are in front of him currently in the depth chart, are both free agents. There could be a big boost to a player like Evan Hull. And I'll even throw in Tyler Goodson, assuming that he still is able to make the roster, right? Because Tyler Goodson was there too. But these are some running backs that could potentially be the handcuff to a Jonathan Taylor. And who knows what could happen. So what do you feel? What do you think about Evan Hull?
So really with Colts running backs in general, they're some of my favorite stashes because they're all available. They're all available. Zach Moss is a free agent. Talked about it. I can't remember Trey Sermon's situation. In my spreadsheet, I don't have him as a free agent. He might be, but it might be like restricted free agents. So good chance he's back. So Hull, Goodson, Sermon, I'm taking flyers on all these guys for different reasons. With Hull, it's the pass catching ability. That's the pass catching upside. That's why we liked him as a rookie last year. But I will say the reason that you like Tyler Goodson is because he is also that type of running back. He's the pass catching, speedy, shiftier, complementary piece, a la Nyheim Hines to Jonathan Taylor. And I view those two guys as competing. And the case you make for Tyler Goodson is going, Hull did essentially miss an entire season. And then Trey Sermon, look, here's what I have in my notes. Former third-round running back bust, joins the Colts in his third season. He's 215-plus pounds. He runs an abysmal 4.65 40-yard dash, and he played in the Power 5 conference. Because it's Jonathan Taylor's backfield, nobody wants him. That's Zach Moss, what was it, 2 years ago? And this year could be Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon at the end of the season was starting to get some run. He had snap shares 44%, 20%, 31%. I know it's disgusting. I know that Sermon has done basically nothing, but he also followed Shane Steichen to the Colts from the Eagles. Yes, Trey Sermon was with the Eagles for like a cup of coffee there. So you can make the case. Like I can make these cases with any type of numbers for all three, but really it's just going like Taylor's a starting running back. Maybe we don't know the backup, but what we do know is that all three of the candidates there, because Zach Moss is gone. He's going to get big money to go somewhere else. So all three guys that could be the RB2 are rostered in 36% of leagues or less. And running back, you don't have to be talented to be good in fantasy football. Pick any of those guys. It's a dart throw anyways. Why not?
Yeah, good stuff. Or we'll speed through. I got a couple more. Greg Dortch, undersized, but he did play in week 12 of this year, 76% of the snaps. And I know there's a lot of talk about Arizona taking Marvin Harrison Jr., but you never know with some of these Arizona wide receivers. What do you think? You keeping Greg Dortch around on your roster?
Hey, I hate to be an ageist on this one, but I just don't know. I feel like he's okay, but I'd rather just be trying to win the lottery, not like hitting a single. So with Greg Dortch, sorry, buddy, too small. Like there's just that ceiling's too low. I'm out on Dortch.
All right. What about Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Calvin Austin? He's rostered in 31% of sleeper leagues. And regardless of this foolishness that Tomlin wants to stick with Kenny Pickett, I think they're going to be looking for a quarterback upgrade. I mean, I know that that's what their beat reporter said, so no disrespect there, but I think that would be insane if they just stuck with Kenny Pickett, but whatever. The Steelers are favored by Vegas to land Russell Wilson right now. So if, he gets an upgrade, and we all know Russell Wilson is a deep ball threat specialist, Calvin Austin, it profiles as a type of receiver that could benefit from Russell Wilson. So what do you think? Is Calvin Austin a good deep league dynasty stash?
My answer to that is a question. When was the last time Calvin Austin had like 10 receiving yards in a game? Like he started off with some promise. but he ended the season so bad. And for that reason, I'm out. You missed the entire rookie season. You went the wrong way in your second year. I'm out on Calvin Austin.
All right. I'll give you a few more rapid fire ones to end the show. We do have to get off here soon because Trade Gods is going to start up here soon. Stick around for that. Here's a running back that I kind of like. And I know everybody's on the Chase Brown bandwagon, right? What about Travion Williams? Travion Williams was listed as the Bengals backup running back before Brown took it over, right? And this Joe Mixon situation is weird. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Travion Williams is only rostered in 11% of leagues. All right. So he's widely available. Is this a good dynasty stash, or am I hoping against all hope that Chase Brown is not as good as he looked last year?
I don't even think it's a Chase Brown thing. I just think it's a Travion Williams has been in the league for 5 years and hasn't done anything. He's a special teams guy, right? But I'll also say, like, if I could track a player that I've added and dropped the most ever in sleeper dynasty leagues, it's Travion Williams. But just what are we hoping for? He's 5-6 seasons in, just hasn't done anything. He's a special teams guy.
All right. Well, I think we got 25-ish in. I think we did. And we're up at an hour. Shout out to the chat. Fantasy Plumbers in here. Troutman. Yeah, we talked about the Denver situation. My good friend Dane, who's a good dynasty player, is in here. Cody Carpentier is in here. Joel Ybarra, my assistant editor, is in here. The King agrees with our A.T. Perry take. Aaron Stewart has his belt that he did not win with him, that he just claims that he's the champion. So before we get out of here, Aaron, I have to know, what are you up to? What's going on? What do you have to promote? Give the people where they can find you out there in the world.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at FFB Captain. These days, I'm more of a lurker. It's I'm all about winning. I was profitable in redraft leagues this year, profitable in my dynasty leagues, working with my good friend EDG Chris on perfecting our best ball strategy, perfecting our player process here, because we had some big hits last year. And there's some things we're going to clean up so that we can be better with our evaluations. But these days, I'm relatively quiet on Twitter, but engage with me. I'll engage back.
All right. Go follow him there and ignore all of the things that he's saying about winning this Mock Draft Live championship because he clogged the toilet and chickened out. Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at Seth_DIEWOLD. You can like and subscribe the video. We would like that very much. Stay tuned in with PlayerProfiler.com and the YouTube channel and all of our social media accounts all off season long, all the way up through the NFL draft, because we have the information that you need, and it's all free. It's all free. That's all you have to do. And you can show your appreciation to us by clicking the like button and subscribing. So until next time, Aaron, you know how we like to end the show around here, right? You remember?
Ooh, I'm a little out of practice. How are we going to end this show?
All right. Well, I say nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers. And now I say Wiseman for Heisman. It's my new thing. Wiseman for Heisman. And if you don't know who Mark Wiseman is, look him up. He was like a 23-year-old running back who looked like a 40-year-old accountant who ran like 3 yards in a cloud of dust for the Iowa Hawkeyes in like a 6-6 season. And we're gonna remember Mark Wiseman. So Wiseman for Heisman. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.